My beloved child, stop right where you are. I know what happened. I know the moment they did not choose you, the relationship that did not move forward, the job that went to someone else, the friendship group that never quite made room for you, the family that somehow always seemed to have less room for you than for others, the person you loved who chose someone different. I know the specific sting of that moment, and I know what it has done to you in the time since. Not just the immediate pain of the rejection itself, but the story the rejection told, the story about your worth, about your desirability, about what you are and are not. The quiet but persistent conclusion that if they did not choose you, there must be a reason, and that reason must be you. You did not find this message by accident. I have been watching what rejection has built in you over time, the careful way you have learned to hold back, to not need too much, to protect yourself from the particular devastation of wanting something and not being given it. I have seen the way you have learned to expect to be passed over, to be surprised when you are chosen rather than when you are not, to manage your hope in advance so that the disappointment of rejection does not land with its full weight. I have seen the armor and I know what it is protecting, and today I am asking you to let me speak into the place underneath it. I want to say something to you immediately that I need you to receive before we go any further. I chose you. Before the foundation of the world, before any human being had the opportunity to evaluate your worth and render a verdict, I chose you. Not as a consolation prize for being rejected by others. Not as the gracious fallback position of a God who accepts everyone regardless of quality, but as a deliberate, specific, informed choice, made with full knowledge of everything you are and everything you are not, that has never been reversed and will never be reversed. The people who did not choose you saw a portion of you through limited eyes and made a decision based on incomplete information and their own preferences and limitations. I see all of you with complete information, and I chose you anyway. That choosing is the most important verdict that has ever been rendered on your worth. Everything else is secondary. I also want to name something directly. Rejection hurts. Not as a spiritual weakness, not as evidence of insufficient trust in my approval, but as a basic feature of human experience. You were designed for belonging, for being chosen, for the experience of being genuinely wanted. And when that experience is denied, when you reach for connection and it does not reach back, when you present yourself for consideration and are passed over, when you love and are not loved in return, the pain is real and significant and does not go away simply because you remind yourself of theological truths. The truths matter, but they do not make the pain disappear. And I am not here today to give you truths that bypass the pain. I am here to sit with you in the pain and speak truth into it. So stay here with me. I know that this topic is one that touches a particularly tender place, the place where your sense of worth lives, the place where the evidence of your value or lack of value has accumulated over years of experience. I know that opening that place feels risky, that hope about being genuinely wanted has been disappointed before. I am not asking you to manufacture hope you do not feel. I am asking you to let me speak. Because what I have to say about who you are and why you were not chosen by certain people, and what my choice of you actually means, is going to require the kind of honest engagement that only happens when you stay present for the full conversation. My child, I want to go into the specific ways that repeated rejection has shaped you, because the impact of not being chosen, especially when it happens repeatedly and in significant relationships, goes far deeper than the individual moments of rejection themselves. It builds something in you over time that becomes the lens through which you see every new situation, and I want to name what has been built so that we can begin to dismantle it together. Rejection builds a belief system about your worth that operates automatically and beneath conscious awareness. After enough experiences of not being chosen, the mind begins to generate a conclusion. There is something about me that makes people not want me. This conclusion starts as a hypothesis, a possible explanation for the pattern, and gradually, through repetition and the selective attention that confirmation bias produces, becomes a conviction. And once it becomes a conviction, it begins to function as a filter on your experience of every new relationship. You walk into rooms already expecting to be overlooked. You enter relationships already braced for the eventual disappointment. You present yourself with the apologetic quality of someone who does not quite believe they deserve to be there, and that quality, that subtle self-erasure, communicates something to the people around you that often produces the very outcome you were dreading. Rejection builds a perfectionism that is exhausting and ultimately self-defeating. If not being chosen is the wound, the natural response is to try to become unchoosable, to eliminate all the qualities that might give someone a reason to reject you, to become more agreeable, more accommodating, more impressive, more whatever you think the people whose approval you want are looking for. This perfectionism is not really about standards or excellence. It is about safety, about the hope that if you can just be good enough, impressive enough, likable enough, you will finally be chosen and the wound will stop reopening. But the exhaustion of maintaining this performance is unsustainable. And the deeper problem is that the version of you who gets chosen through perfect performance is not actually you. Which means the belonging produced by the performance is never the genuine belonging your soul was actually hungry for. Rejection builds a complicated relationship with desire itself. When wanting something has repeatedly produced the pain of not getting it, the survival strategy of the heart is to stop wanting, or at least to stop wanting visibly, to hold desire at a distance, to protect yourself from the vulnerability of need by convincing yourself that you do not need what you actually desperately want. This looks like detachment, or independence or maturity from the outside. On the inside, it is a kind of grief. The grief of a person who has given up on certain kinds of hope, because hope has cost too much. And I am not willing to let you live in that diminished way permanently. I designed you to want. I designed you to hope. And I want to restore your ability to do both, without the immediate accompaniment of terror. Rejection also builds a distorted view of me. If the people who were supposed to choose you did not, the theological implication that many people draw, usually unconsciously, is that I probably feel similarly. That my acceptance of you is as conditional and as fragile as human acceptance has proven to be. That behind my stated love, there is probably a reservation, a preference for the people who are easier to love. A subtle ranking in which you occupy a lower position. My child, I need to dismantle this lie completely, because it is the most costly thing rejection produces. My acceptance of you is not like human acceptance. It does not fluctuate based on your performance. It does not compare you to others. It is settled, complete, eternal, and it has never varied by a single degree regardless of what any human being has chosen or failed to choose. I want to speak now to the specific lies that rejection plants, because they are deeply personal and deeply painful, and they deserve to be confronted with the full weight of what I actually know and say about you. The first lie is that you are fundamentally less than. That the people who were chosen instead of you are simply better, more attractive, more talented, more interesting, more lovable, more deserving, and that the choice against you was an accurate assessment of comparative worth. My child, this lie treats human choosing as though it were an objective evaluation of worth, when in reality human choosing is always partial, always limited, always shaped by the preferences and biases and limitations of the chooser. The person who did not choose you was not rendering an objective verdict on your value. They were making a decision based on their own limited perspective, their own particular preferences, their own readiness or lack of readiness, their own fears and patterns and history. Their choice says more about them than it says about you, and their choice is not my choice. The second lie is that being chosen by certain people would finally make you feel enough. That if the right relationship had worked out, if the right opportunity had come through, if the right community had genuinely welcomed you, the hunger for belonging would finally be satisfied and you could rest. But my child, the hunger for belonging was never designed to be satisfied by any human choosing. It was designed to be satisfied by mine. The human relationships that genuinely nourish you, and I have some for you, are expressions of the belonging I give rather than the source of it. When you try to get from human choosing what only my choosing can provide, you end up in a cycle of need that no relationship can sustain. The third lie is that the rejection means the future does not hold genuine belonging for you. That the pattern has been established, that the evidence is in, that what has happened before will simply continue to happen, and that you should adjust your expectations downward accordingly. But I am the God who interrupts patterns. I am the God who does the unexpected, who brings the outsider in, who sets a table in the wilderness. The pattern of your past is not the blueprint of your future, unless you allow the wound of rejection to drive you into the self-protective behaviors that recreate the pattern. Which is why this healing matters so much. Not just for the sake of the past hurt, but for the sake of the future I am trying to lead you into. The fourth lie is that being unchosen is a permanent identity rather than a series of events. That you are, at your core, someone who gets left out. That this is who you are, the role you play, the part you have been assigned in the story of human community. My child, being passed over by certain people in certain moments is something that happened to you. It is not who you are. The ones who were not chosen in the world eyes, the youngest son, the shepherd boy, the fisherman, the tax collector, the woman at the well, these are the ones I consistently chose for the most significant roles in my story. Being overlooked by human preference has never disqualified anyone from divine purpose. The fifth lie is that you need to earn your way into being chosen, that the appropriate response to rejection is to work harder, be more, perform better, until you finally reach a level where you cannot be passed over. But this lie keeps you on a treadmill of performance that has no finish line. What I am offering you is belonging that preceded any performance and will survive any failure. You cannot earn it. You already have it. The work is not to earn it, but to receive it, to allow your daily experience of living to be shaped by the reality that you are already, unconditionally, irrevocably chosen. My beloved, I want to speak now about something that I have seen consistently in the lives of people who have experienced significant rejection. What looks like rejection is often redirection. And I want to show you what that looks like in practice, not as a platitude designed to minimize the pain of what happened, but as a genuine theological and practical truth about how I work in the lives of people I love. When a door closes, when the relationship does not work out, when the opportunity does not come through, when the community does not open up the way you hoped, I am rarely absent from that closing. I am often the one who closes it, not because I am withholding good things from you, but because what was behind that door was not the best thing for you, or you were not ready for it, or the person on the other side was not capable of giving you what you needed. The closed door is not evidence of my rejection of you. It is often evidence of my protection of you, keeping you from a good that would have prevented a better, or from a relationship that would have satisfied superficially, while keeping you from the genuine connection that was still coming. I also want to speak about what rejection develops in you that being chosen always would not have produced. The person who has never experienced rejection often has a fragility about them, a dependence on external validation that makes them vulnerable in ways they do not recognize until it is tested. The person who has walked through rejection and chosen to heal from it, rather than be defined by it, develops something that the unchosen life cannot produce, a security that is independent of other people choosing, a sense of worth that does not fluctuate with the verdict of every new situation, a rootedness in my love that has been tested and found sufficient. I want to speak to those of you who were rejected by your own family, who grew up in an environment where you were not fully celebrated, not fully seen, not the favored one, perhaps not wanted in the ways that children deserve to be wanted. This is one of the deepest forms of rejection, because it happens at the stage of life when the conclusions drawn about worth become the most foundational. I want to say directly, what happened in your family of origin is not the final word on your worth. You are my child first, before you are anyone else's child. And my assessment of you, formed before you were born, unchanged by anything that has happened since, is the assessment that matters most. I also want to speak to those of you who are in a current season of rejection, not processing past experiences, but actively living through present ones. The job search that keeps coming back with no. The relationship attempts that keep ending before they begin. The community efforts that keep not taking root. I want to tell you two things simultaneously. First, I see this season, and it has not escaped my notice, and I am at work in it even when I am not visibly moving. Second, the end of this season is coming, and what comes after it will be shaped by the choices you make in the middle of it. Whether you allow the rejection to close you down, or to deepen your roots. My beloved child, I want to close by speaking about the choosing that changes everything, my choosing of you, and what it means in practical, lived, daily terms. Because I want this truth to be more than a theological statement that you agree with, and then set aside. I want it to be the organizing principle of your sense of self, the lens through which you interpret every experience of human choosing and failing to choose, the foundation on which everything else is built. What does it mean, practically, to live as someone who has been chosen by God? It means that you enter rooms differently. Not arrogantly, not with the performance of confidence you do not feel, but with a settled quality, a quiet groundedness, that comes from knowing that the verdict on your worth has already been rendered by the one with the authority to render it, and that verdict is positive and permanent. You do not need this room approval to know your value. You do not need this person choosing to confirm your worth. It would be lovely if it came. You are genuinely open to it. But it is not the thing your sense of self is resting on, and therefore its presence or absence does not devastate you. It means that you are freed from the exhausting work of managing your presentation to be most choosable. Not freed from the genuine care of being your best self. I am always inviting you toward growth and toward the fullest expression of who I made you to be. But freed from the particular anxiety of adjusting yourself for each audience, performing the version of yourself most likely to be approved of, hiding the real parts in favor of the palatable parts. When your worth is settled in my choosing rather than in human choosing, you can afford to be actually yourself, because you are not risking your sense of worth in the encounter. It means that the rejections that continue to come, because they will continue to come, because rejection is a feature of human life that does not end with spiritual maturity, land differently. They still hurt. I am not promising a life in which rejection is painless, but they are no longer catastrophic. They no longer confirm the worst belief about yourself. They no longer spiral into the familiar narrative of fundamental unworthiness. They are disappointing events in a life whose foundation is secure, rather than devastating confirmation of a wound that defines everything. The difference between those two experiences of rejection is not small. It is the difference between a wound and a bruise. It also means that you are freed to choose others, to be the one who sees the overlooked person in the room and makes room, who reaches for the one who is not being reached for, who offers the belonging that you yourself have needed. The person who has processed their own rejection wound and found healing in my choosing becomes uniquely qualified to extend genuine welcome to others who are where they have been. Your wound healed becomes your ministry. I chose you. I want to say it one more time as clearly and as directly as I know how. Before you were born, I chose you. Before any human being had the opportunity to evaluate you and render a verdict, I chose you. With full knowledge of every part of you, the parts you are proud of, and the parts you are ashamed of, the parts that are easy to love and the parts that are harder. I chose you. Not grudgingly. Not as a fallback. But deliberately, gladly, with a specific love for the specific person you are, that I have never had for anyone else in exactly the same way, because there has never been another you. You are chosen. You have always been chosen. And nothing that any human being has done or failed to do changes that choosing by a single degree. Go now, my beloved child, as someone who is chosen. Let that truth sink into the places where rejection built its lies. Let it soften the armor. Let it restore the ability to want and to hope without the immediate bracing for disappointment. Let it free you to be fully yourself in every room you enter, because your worth is no longer on the line in the verdict of that room. You are already known. You are already loved. You are already chosen. And in the economy of my kingdom, that is the only choosing that has ever truly counted.